All right, thank you for joining. This is probably your first video on UCMAS and how to proceed to start. This one specifically on the introduction to Abacus. And we're going to be working on a specific task or a specific activity to practice the finger movements, which is essential to our development, to the student's development, to your child's development, especially at the beginning. So we're going to go through it. It's the first day, first level. We're going to pass by each level for each single, I would say, finger movement or any different formulas or any other activities, and we'll go through all of that. So let's start with this UCMAS Auteuil, level 1. Here's what we're going to cover. Number 1, values, principles, and actions. We'll get into that later on. Obviously, this is just the summary of what we're going to do today. Number 2, introduction to Abacus. Number 3, initial exercises, finger exercises specifically. So, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We will have exclusive content. You'll have access to it as well. You obviously have access to us as well, but more content there, more of the idea of what we're doing. Obviously, when we're in class or after class, we're talking to you about your children, and we go over the problems and the successes and the good part, the bad part, the things that we need to improve. But when it comes to all the other students, well, you guys won't particularly see it, but you might see it on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. So follow for more exclusive content. Obviously, and this is a no-brainer to us, share the course. Share this program that we have here, and let's start a revolution. I honestly began this program when I was younger because my mom put us through it, and she wanted us to have an edge over everybody else. And we did clearly have an edge over everybody else. Forget about the time that we saved on not going for any other tutoring classes, or the time that we saved on studying way less and performing way better at exams and taking way less time on doing exams or even the homework at home. And we started this franchise here, we started this particular business specifically to change the education system in Quebec. Now, share the course, let's start a revolution. Change other people's lives altogether. Warning, this is the most important video in the entire course. Don't skip, watch the whole video, watch the entire video, and don't fast forward. If you skip through the parts, you're going to have a hard time coming back. By the way, I'm someone who tries to go faster, and obviously I fall into all the traps. So I'm telling you this because myself, I am also someone like this. Pro tip, you could watch the entire video in 2 times speed. There are certain parts I would require you and I would engage and actually tell you guys to maybe not put 2 times speed, but that's up to you. But watch the video at 2 times speed. At some points you might need to reduce the speed. All right. First step, values, principles, and actions. Here's a reminder that I also need, and everybody needs, consistent daily improvement. Consistent daily practice leads to steady improvement and lasting mastery. We don't remind this enough to everybody. And honestly, this should be a daily reminder to everyone that every day counts. And yes, that doesn't mean that we need to have hours and hours of practice, but every day counts. It could be a 5-minute practice or even a 10-minute practice. Everything counts. And we're not working towards having in mind excellence at the front of our minds. Our main intention should be, I should be better and I should improve and be better than yesterday. That's it. If we put the pressure of excellence from the get-go, we're not going to achieve anything. Let's start very simple, and I say this to all the students. We are here to improve and to be better than yesterday. That's it. 3 steps. These are the 3 principles that I have been using lately, I would say. Understanding, automating, and then speed. First, understand the concept that is taught, and that's the most important part. It's to understand. If we don't understand, forget speed, forget automation, nothing will work. Actually, our brains will be stuck on the first part, on understanding, and we're going to try to move forward, but the wheels are going to be stuck inside the mud. Next, practice means improvement. Once you understood the program, or once the concept, or whatever we're learning specifically, then we have to apply. But we're not going to apply to go fast. And I think some of the students need to be reminded that first we understand, then we automate, and then we go into speed. And speed, obviously, because if you're doing anything with speed, it's because you have ultimately found mastery, or you're on path to mastery. Now, there is a little star that you should add beside. Mastery should not be, or speed should not be at the cost of proper answers. We have students who do 150 questions that are tough during the competitions within 7 minutes, and they get maybe at most 5 mistakes or 10 mistakes. And that is a fantastic ratio to the number of questions they're doing. And then we also have students who do 150 questions but get half of it wrong. Between both, they're both going fast, both finishing in 7 minutes, both at 2.8 seconds per calcul or for each equation. But the success rate is 50% on one, and the other one is very, very high. And we're talking like near 90%, 95, 99, 98%, above 90%, which is fantastic. And that's what we're working for. We're trying to improve from the 50% to the 90%, to the 95%. Will we ever reach 100%? Perhaps. Especially in our course, we're talking here elite math performance. It is obviously something that is very, very hard, and that's what we're targeting for. But that doesn't mean that this particular 90% applies to the school part, because school is not all about math performance. Actually, there's no performance in school. So the mentality that we're shaping within our kids are not based on the school curriculum, which is just do what is enough. And that's why we are here. You are here, one, maybe it's because your kids are having trouble at school, and so you're trying to find alternative ways to get them better. We don't put band-aids, we do a full-on surgery here. It's our fundamentals. We don't go and just put a band-aid on something that requires an actual stitching. It's gonna hurt at the beginning. And I'll tell you this, it is something that fascinates me to see all the people that are allowing themselves to say, let's rip up the band-aid and actually do a proper surgery. And we see it because a surgery requires emotional therapy. And I'm not saying therapy in the sense of a psychologist, it's just talking to the kids and seeing what they're going through. Some of the kids need more attention on their emotional side, and we have to talk to them and then get their minds straight. Then there's also some parts of some kids, and I would say mostly boys, need to move a little bit. So we do like jumping jacks. Some do push-ups because they want to. They see us do it, and then they're like, oh yeah, let me do it too. And we call that the part that some need physical movement. And jumping jacks keep everybody awake. We're jumping, our bodies are moving, and our brains are getting fired. The neurons inside our brains are getting fired. And number 3 is a community. People that we could talk to. We're simply teachers. And we understand that we need to open up our doors and have everybody come in for an emotional side, or maybe even their parts of understanding. And then we have to also speak about different topics up to them as well. So, very important, and I usually go on tangents like this, but we have to keep in mind that you're here for a different way of doing math, and you're solving not only a simple problem, which is math, but you're also solving larger problems, which the school fails to do. All right, UCMAS core habits. Now, I'm not going to list all of them because that would be way too long, but we're going to talk about the sitting posture and then holding a pencil. And there's going to be a following video that's going to show you exactly how to do it, and we're going to go break it down, each one of them. But then the sitting posture, very simple. Back straight, and we always have to be sitting halfway through the chair. Why? Because the back of a chair is not made for us to rest. And if we start resting, we become so much more comfortable and we're not pushing ourselves to the limits. Some of the mindset shifts you guys need to have is to change the way you perceive education. And there's one part, which is learning, but then there's the other part, which is pushing ourselves to the limit. And I think a lot of you are stuck into learning. Oh, my kid is having trouble at school learning, and perhaps it's because they don't push themselves enough. And then we have to push, not in a negative way. We should never be using negative negation, especially with kids. We should be very positive about it. Reinforce their good behaviors. They're kids. They're allowed to be a little goofy. They're allowed to be a little bit to have fun, we could say, and to make mistakes. But we're not here to judge them for those things. We're here to judge them for their good path and reinforce the proper habits. And the bad ones, we will find a way to filter out. So we have to balance everything else. We have to balance all of those parts where we are extremely positive about the core habits. Forget UCMAS, just the core habits in everything that we do. So sitting posture, very simple. Back straight. I'm sitting in the back. Back straight, halfway through the chair. They're going to be way more attentive. They need to force themselves to listen to the person in front, or even to watching a video, whatever it is. When you're slouched on your couch, you're very comfortable. When your back needs to be straight, you need to force yourself to work or to do something. You're not going to be watching a video with your back straight and forced. And holding the pencil. I'll take this pencil here. So, holding the pencil, we have 5 fingers. We're going to close the ring finger and the pinky as well. We're going to keep the other 3 open. And I'll give you the reasons afterwards why, and I think it's the next point. The thumb, index, and the thumb, index, and big finger. We're going to call it big finger. These are the 3 fingers that we're going to use on both hands. And we'll come back to it. For now, we're going to stick to the right hand. Even if your child is a left-handed, who's going to be holding the pencil the same way on the left hand, they're going to be holding the hands exactly the same way on the right hand as well. All right, finger movements. We will only be using the thumb, index, and big finger. Let's use this terminology of the right hand. For now, only the right hand will be used in the practice. The left hand will be used for holding the abacus and the pencil if your child is left-handed. Very important, they'll be holding the abacus on the side. And I think there's an important note that I should probably even add, but it's to hold the abacus on the side so that, one, the abacus doesn't move and it's going to be locked because of the wrist, and they could be doing their work with the right hand quite easily. And it's very important right now at the beginning to focus on those things as well. All right, let's get to the introduction to the abacus. The abacus, it's the oldest and most effective calculating tool to perform fundamental arithmetic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division by manipulating the beads. Now, there's a fundamental difference between effective calculation and fast calculation. So effective, we're talking here in the most, and efficient, right? Efficient calculation, you could use a calculator. Effective, we're talking about the power of how much it can affect us, the user, and the others around. Or perhaps maybe in this case, it's kind of useless to talk about others around, but we're going to talk about exactly on how it affects us personally and in our minds. And the reason why I use the word effective here, as per not efficient, because efficient, you could use a calculator for simple arithmetics. And you could be like, well, I could find the answer as well. But it requires a special amount of intelligence and work to be able to work on the abacus. And it's more on the dedication of someone and being like, I can do this on the abacus and move forward with it and not break my head. And I could do this also mental in the future. They'll be way faster than a calculator. You've probably seen, and if you have not, go check our Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. All those kids, or even David and everybody else who goes through it and does the mental speed and goes through the whole addition, subtraction, multiplication, divisions at such speed, especially coming into competitions, no calculator can be doing that. It is very, very tough to go even at half the speed that we're going at, because your visual, and this is the part that is going to take some time for robots and everything to come by, the visual is way faster than you typing into the calculator. Now, I guess the part that you might be thinking is, well, we don't do mental math or math performance in schools. And I agree, we don't. I think it should be something that should be part, but that's a different story. We are forming them by developing their brains that could be used in multiple universes. And I'm talking in multiple facets of school. For example, science. And we have a lot of things that we could be talking about in other videos, but there's memory. There's confidence that is more important, because having confidence is in the doing, not in the just the self-talk. And yes, you need to have self-talk on one end, but you also need to have the work in order to have the confidence. So you could talk to yourself and say, yes, I'm really good at school, but if your grades aren't showing it, it's very hard to believe it. But if you are working very hard and you understand everything, and then you apply, but you're not just applying for just applying, but you're also a master at it, now your skill level and confidence level, which it's the most undervalued part, because we all talk confidence and then we don't value it as much because we like to look at CVs and go, oh, point by point by point. But when you see the confidence of someone explaining something or talking about something or going into a specific challenge that could be hard, it is incredibly incredible to it's tough. It's very tough to do it. But in order to go into that, you need to have confidence into anything that is challenging, any situation. And I'll give you a little story. This is a secondary 5. I'm going in there, class, everything, exam. I finished the exam within 20 minutes. It's an hour exam. It's not that long. I mean, I was 3 times faster. And the first reaction was, the teacher's reaction was, how did you finish so fast? Second reaction was everybody else's. They were all stunned. And I got 100, obviously. I mean, it wasn't hard for me. Why? Because I had the confidence. One, when I was preparing for this, I had followed the exact framework: understand, automate, and then speed. And I spent, and this is, I think Lincoln said this, spend around, if you were given 6 hours to chop a tree down, spend around 4 hours on sharpening the axe, and then 2 hours executing. And that's what I was doing. I was spending more time, or at least in terms of percentage, I was spending more time on understanding. Then when it came to automating, I was practicing intentional. And I think I have to go back in the back and say, let's go back. Here, consistent, intentional daily improvement. And that's one thing I would say. So, and I was applying, going understanding, automating, and then speed. Then I would time myself to do each page of homework or whatever it is that was given. Why? Because I knew if I understood and I automated, and it became in my head. It not something that I had to look back into a book and turn again and then look back at the answers and write it. No, I had understood, automate, and then speed. And at some point in my life, I made it so simple that understanding and automating had become combined. And so my learning force was so fast that automating and learning and automating were combined instantly. Why? Because I practiced that. And that's what we do here. We try our best, and they're kids, so we understand there's certain things they won't understand today, but we try our best with every single class, repeating that we have to understand, automate, and then we could talk about speed afterwards. Because school is not hard. It is only a matter of understanding, automating, and then speed. All right, the next part is going to be mental math. The mental math. So Abacus training helps the brain visualize numbers as bead patterns. So we're going to be talking about that in a different video. We will show you exactly all those pictures and everything. Enabling mental calculations, the imaginative part of the brain works 8 times faster than the logical side. With practice, students internalize the abacus, allowing them to perform quick and accurate calculations without needing the physical tool. You've seen the videos. I don't believe I need to explain this any further. And finally, the finger movements. We will only be using the thumb, index, and finger, and big finger. Let's use this terminology. I think I'm just copying and reading again. Let's keep it simple. Only these 3 fingers and these 3 fingers on the left hand. As I said, the left hand is going to be used, especially at the beginning, to hold the abacus so that the wrist doesn't allow the abacus to move as we perform the calculation. And then if you're a lefty, hold the pencil with your left hand and hold the abacus. And if you're a righty, hold the pencil or the pen. In this case, I believe you guys are going to be holding pencils with your right hand and your left hand holding the abacus. Oh, second part to this. There's something called the long clear, which we will show in the next video, and the short clear. And I'm explaining these parts because these are central parts to before and after kind of situations. So for example, when we're preparing to do an exercise, we're going to do the long clear. And this is the process of resetting the abacus by clearing all the beads that touch the central beam. Basically, we'll show you in the video, you just lift the abacus, clean up the abacus. That's it. That's all we do. And this is before we do any exercise. Then we have the short clear. And short clear is a process of quickly clearing the beads that were used to present the answer of a previous calculation. And this is done after completing each sum or the problem. So whenever they have a problem on their book pages, and this is what we practice, is that once they're done, short clear, write down the answer. And we always say, short clear, write down the answer. Short clear looks like a little pinch on the central beam that you go over only a certain part, not the whole abacus, and we'll show you in the videos. And this is done and performed after completing the sum and before writing the answer. All right, initial exercises. This is called finger exercises. The finger exercise is actually, I'll read it like this. This exercise helps students build muscle memory for the specific finger movements they'll be using throughout their training. Thumb, adding bottom beads. So +1, +2, +3, +4. Index, subtracting bottom beads, -1, -2, or -1, -2, -3, and -4. The big finger is going to be used to add and subtract the top bead. This is a good reminder for me, and I'll show you in the next part, is that the abacus is split into 2 categories. There's the top part and the bottom part. And the top part, which is only 1 bead, is the one that we have to start imagining that it's a 5. It is worth 5. And then the bottom part is each one of them are individual beads worth only 1 point. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. Then we add the top, that's going to be 5. Then we add the 1, that's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll show you in the next video more clearly on this. This is only to like a mindset shift. Systematic approach. The exercises are designed to be systematic, following a specific structure. And this is particularly said for the next video. Combination of fingers. All right, so we've learned that the The thumb is to add the bottom beads, the index is to subtract the bottom beads, the big finger is to add and subtract the top bead. So when we're adding, let's say 6 or plus 7 or plus 8 or plus 9, we're going to be using something called the crocodile. Crocodile, so I'm going to hold the pen and we do plus the bottom bead and the 5. Crocodile. Crocodile. And then there's something called the scissors. This is performed when the combination is going to be for, let's say, minus 6, minus 7, minus 8, or minus 9. And it's going to look like this. So the minus 5, and then whatever the beat that we have to do. The next video will show you exactly on how to do each one of them. The journey. The finger movements practice in these exercises are not just for isolated tasks. They'll be used consistently across all future abacus and mental math exercises. This is part of the first fundamental building blocks. Okay, this takes at most 5 minutes, at most. Daily practice with parental support. Parents, you have to understand you're not escaping from the work, but we are trying to support you in the work. A lot of parents think that they need to escape the work in order to be successful. Rather, you have to switch your mind to have the proper mindset is you still have to put in the work, but now you have additional support to you to get you started. It's like launching a rocket. You cannot launch a rocket with one man. You need a team. You need teams, not just one team, teams. So let's bring it down to a more realistic scenario for your kid. It's not just school and the teachers. It's not just school, teachers, and perhaps a sport once a day or once a week. It's more than that. You need to have the school, the teachers. You need to have friends. You need to have sports, a lot of sports. You need to have a program like ours that develops the brain and resilience and discipline, because some of the sports are just for fun. Nowadays, it's only fun. People have lost their yes, there is fun, which we will come back to it, but there is also the sport of the discipline, the concentration. We provide that fundamental value, and that's what we truly believe in here. We played sports. We played soccer, hockey, badminton, underwater hockey, water polo. Name all the sports we played in. And in each one of them, there was the fundamental building blocks is concentration, imagination, discipline, judgment, and there's so much more, like reasoning and all that stuff. Everything is necessary. And if it's not gathered through all the other parts, we're going to deliver it here at full strength. Because for example, during the competition, discipline is much required, and is self-discipline that is more important than discipline from someone else. Then after imagination, once we get into the mental math side, it's nothing but imagination, forcing the mind to imagine the beads and imagine the pictures and forcing the correct bead movement and everything at high speed. That's why we call it math performance. So this is part of everything. Everything's included. Sports are important. School is important. We tend to believe that we're very important because we've impacted so many people just to develop their brain into how it could be and how they could potentially see. So let's say if there's a building only with 2 floors, well, and I've always said it like this program allowed me to hit not only the 2 floors, but also an additional 5 floors. And that allowed me to push my potential to a whole nother level. So we'll come back to this. And daily practice with parental support include finger exercises in their child's daily routine and to supervise practice. Can't see this. And to supervise practice sessions to ensure proper technique and consistent progress. In this particular series of videos, this is to get the parents to be as good as us to understand how to work at home. We're working here to help your child go through school at the highest level possible. Some of you may have other setbacks And I would say the opposite, but other things that are right now at a small level that not, later on they could have a powerful change in their lives because we can actually assess the problems correctly. If the problem is they're having trouble in math, but we don't go and solve the actual problem, which is first understanding the basics, then understanding the next steps. So going back to the problem and solving the problem as it is. Sometimes it's concentration, sometimes it's discipline, sometimes it's other things. And we have to work everywhere. Every week is going to be different. Why? Because everybody changes every day. You change, you become someone else. I'm pretty sure you all agree with me. And you improve as time progresses. All right, in summary, consistent, daily, intentional improvement. Consistent daily, intentional practice leads to steady improvement and lasting mastery. Understanding, automating, speed. Understanding the concept that is taught is primordial. Practice means improvement. Speed is the ultimate result of mastery. Daily practice with parental support include finger exercises in their child's daily routine and to supervise practice sessions to ensure proper technique and consistent progress. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason so few engage in it. Henry Ford. Let's get to work. The next videos will help you out on how to do the finger exercises. Thank you.